So today's speaker is Michael Lloyd-White. He's a social entrepreneur with an extensive background in strategic planning, having consulted on staff and strategies for his having game. Since 2011, Michael has been chairman of the international body World Economics Australia and has received the first elected general secretary of the global body for finance. The World Climate Movement represents a coalition of over 20 nations dedicated to creating a climate world. Under his stewardship, the organisation has secured support and endorsements from Australia's Prime Minister, Vice Regal, the Australian Commissioner for Human Rights, the state and federal ministers, including the Premiers of New South Wales and Victoria, local government bodies representing nearly 2 million residents, including Sydney and the Gold Coast, and most recently, the New South Wales Parents Council Committee member represents 170,000 local government school parents, and what Mike is about $2 billion is going and to motivate you to get parents on board. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Lex, and thank you, Prue, and thank you, Jason, and thank you, visitors and members and staff for this wonderful event today. Was it 2 months ago? There's a reason this is happening today. 7,000, I think Jason and I Googled, 7,000 chapters in the world of BNI sitting down having breakfast every week. And this is the first one. In some ways breaking with protocol, in some ways not complying, but the first one to join a global campaign. And I want to tell you why this declaration signed by your executive is important. We know that declarations get signed all the time, whether it be in the UN, whether it be in government. But when we sign up in city, we ask that the resolution be moved, motion be moved and resolved that you will support our endeavours to create a kinder world and appoint rural ambassadors. In other words, put boots on the ground. Signing a piece of paper is a great thing to do. All kinds of sweets, all kinds of stuff. It's all very nice, warm and fluffy. Yeah? It's like putting a tree in a forest. Good thing to do, but you don't know what's really there because there are so many other things on the calendar. There's always something going for this, for this, for this, for this. But the declarations are really important. It's not so much for the people that are actually signing it. It wasn't that long ago a declaration was signed for a young nation that declared that all men are created equal. You know what happened? At brunch the next day, invite the slaves in and say, hey, come in, we're all equal, come on in that front. No, that wasn't going to happen. Things actually got worse before they got better. But what that declaration did do, it set a benchmark for us to aspire to, and from leaders, from community leaders, from our nation's leaders, when that happens, it gets attention. And it found its way in the laws of the land. So 200 years later, here we are. It's generally accepted that we aspire to ensure that everyone is equal. We have human rights as a result. But more importantly, when they signed that declaration years later, it found its way to the hearts and minds of people across the world. A young farm boy in South Africa called Nelson. A preacher's son in Chicago called Martin. And they were moved by this. They took it to heart. And that ignited a spark in them. And they inspired nations. So in this community, I wonder who is going to be inspired to actually do something. I emphasise do something because one of my favourite attitudes is evil prevails when good people do nothing. Why am I doing this? I didn't know I was going to be here. I didn't know I was going to be involved in World Climate. I didn't know I was going to leave my business ventures and do this full time for the last 4 years. I had no clue. I just decided one day to do something because I saw some inappropriate behaviour in the schoolyard amongst the parents. And I was worried that maybe this is going to trickle down to kids. The school motto was kindness and courtesy, so it seemed like a no-brainer. The next event was on World Kindness Day 2010, so why don't we promote the school motto? And that led to 3,000 people coming to one event for a school that has 300 students, which then led to the Minister of Education putting it on the school calendar in 2 weeks, which then led to 400 events around New South Wales, which then led to something else, which led to a phone call from Singapore asking me who I was. And opportunities happen, and that's the way it led. You get invited to London, and we put a bid in. Part of that bid, to have the Secretary move for the first time from Singapore to Australia. Prior to that, was Japan. So it's really the first time it's been with the Western nation. Part of that bid was to put in a strategic plan. I saw there are a couple of things in there about strategic planning and business network. Fantastic. We have to do a business plan to change the world. How do you do that? Problems. I've always looked at problems and deconstruct them. Get down to what actually causes the problem. Where does it really start from? And if you ask the right question, you'll then get the right answer. And sometimes I think really simple. If a genie popped out of the bottle and granted you 1 week today, 1 week to make the world a better place. One. What have we got? We've got energy strap and suicide deaths. Fix that. Have got things. That's solved. 7. What about if we do famine? What about if we do disease? What about if we do just hate? Let's get rid of hate. If you wish for a kind of world, it addresses everything. What would businesses be like if the world was kind? What would pharmaceutical companies like? Resource companies be like? What would tobacco companies be like in the kind of world? I'll tell you what would be happening. In a kind of world, there wouldn't be people like that. In a kind of world, there wouldn't be $100 billion being gifted out to NGOs in Australia. $100 billion. I know. It's bigger than our defence force budget and our public service budget combined. They're the actual figures for last year. That's the turnover. And is the world getting better? Are there less homeless people on the street? Or are there more charities struggling to compete with each other? And I get stories. I love stories. But one of the stories I get was that a lady liked something on our Facebook page. She worked for a very large charity. She's an executive on this charity, and she liked and shared something on World Kindness on Facebook. By the way, we're not a charity, we don't ask for money. We have a sustainable funding. She told me on quiet, because I can't tell you who it was, which organisation it was, that she got reprimanded for sharing our Facebook because it wasn't one of theirs. And what you've got here today is a collaborative. So what's going to happen with changing the world? How do we do that? So we've got to stop blaming, right? Why? I said before, I know there's a few people that haven't heard me speak last time, so I think it's important to make this point again. I noticed that as well. But the canary in the cage was the early warning sign, reminders of the bygone era that the air can become toxic as soon as the canaries start to go. Surely, in a first world nation, the lucky countries, when we have 12-year-olds choosing to end their life because they find this world unkind, that's got to be a call to action. That's got to be an early warning sign that things aren't right. And whose fault is that? If it takes a village to raise a child, then it's the village's fault, right? We're the village, and we can't be complacent just because things are great. And this campaign changes you. You really want to get involved in this? I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do for a living, it will change you. Because your awareness will go through the roof. You go into a room and you're talking to your friends and a network event and everything's going fine, but what you'll see is your radar bandwidth has increased, your blinkers have come off, and you'll see people on the fringe. You'll see people that are standing alone, not being engaged with. And that happens in schools, doesn't it? When you're doing this, just by having kindness on the agenda and being mindful of it, you're compelled. You're actually compelled to go and invite someone in. And I won't talk a lot about it today, but to me, kindness is not about flowers and hearts and sugar and spice and everything else, which I'm sure some of you thought it was. But, oh, kindness, oh yeah, so that's nice. It's not about that. Kindness is about courage. And don't get me wrong, courage is the only thing that will inspire us more than fear. Everyone gets afraid. Very few people have the courage to deal with it. And if you want to stand up, don't be a bystander. If you want to do something about this pandemic of bullying where children are driven to suicide and mental health issues and everything else, that's just one issue that having a kind of world address, but it's an important one to me because that's what I'm trying to do. I'd love it to be. God forbid I come home. So that's why I do what I do. 7,000 chapters. This is a good start. I've got a business card in my pocket, give it to me. Another function is anything a little shy. These are all mine. I do have a business card. Probably. Search for it now. It's from the regional director of BNI for Northwest. Super keen, of course. And am I right, Jason? Did I hear a rumour that the founder is aware of what's happening today? Sorry?
About our chapter.
So you're on the radar. Have you been on the radar with him before? No. Now are you in trouble? Is it because you're doing this and you were actually given a bit of a tap to say, you know, maybe?
He was very interested in finance.
So that's good. I mean, that's going to be a good thing because our job, my job, is to influence the influential. And look, that introduction is really good. It makes me look great, but very impressive. But it's not just that. Everybody, who was Nelson Mandela before Nelson Mandela? Who was Martin Luther King before? They're just people that decided to do something. Now already from this chat we had a month ago, 2 months ago, already one of your members has become a member and appointed people ambassadors. Well, kind of that's the first member. You guys are the first community member on the north side. So there's a lot of firsts here. And I am extremely grateful and humbled to be here. I can't believe proud. Obviously last time I was a bit proud. And I don't know if we've got time for questions, but I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards if we don't. And we're going to do a presentation. Okay. I might ask Juliana to give me a hand if that's okay. We've got something to pass on to you. I don't know where you're going to place this, but at least take a photo and share it. Right.
I want to take the stage as well. Hey, just be said ambassador for us. And we are
So what happens at the signing ceremony is we we have a declaration of support which is signed by the executive, and we present a certificate of membership. So this is the first certificate of membership presented to a BNI in the world. So congratulations. Kay's been your elected Goodwill Ambassador to represent the organisation at the various events that we have. Some can be as simple as a picnic in the park with the homeless, or it could be at Parliament House with powers that be. So our job is to get the word out. And if you can help us get the word out, and we can help the rest of the world in doing this, we'd be very grateful. So, thank you very much. Okay, sorry.
Well, thank you all for coming along today and being part of us. Not being inducted into the World Finance Australia. It's a big move for our chapter. We're really thrilled, humbled, and proud to be part of it.